Hello, I'm Johnny, I'm the accommodation manager at Wheelie Bridge Holiday Park. We're here to take you through the deep cleaning of your accommodation. As you can see, we've got all our ladders, buckets, water that's required, right down to your screwdriver set for taking little bits apart. On the other side you can see I've got all my chemicals, I've got my hoover, I've got my cloths and my gloves. That's all going to be required during your deep cleaning process. With all our chemicals, we have got data sheets, cost data sheets that you can refer to so you know what PPE you will be using. If you've got any questions, ask your accommodation manager and they will point you in the right direction. When you come to deep clean your accommodation, if you haven't got water connected, there will be water supplied in a butt similar to this one. Obviously all we're going to do is just literally boil the kettle so you've got boiling hot water and clean your accommodation that way. Part of deep cleaning an accommodation is having the right tools for the job, as in with our step ladder here. It is important anybody using a step ladder to be trained in the procedure notes in our health and safety. We must ensure this is recorded in the training records. We're now going to take you through the deep cleaning process of cleaning an accommodation, starting in the main bedroom. As I'm about to start in the main bedroom, I've got all my chemicals to hand, cloths, my gloves, scrubbing brushes and my hot soapy water. When we're cleaning any room, we start at the top and work our way down, starting with the light fitting. Starting with the light fitting, do be careful. Some of them are made of glass and the clips that are holding them up could be quite fragile. Cleaning the light shade and light fitting, we're using R2 and your normal cloth, which is the blue one. And we literally just give it a quick wipe over, clean the light fitting and replace. Now we move on and we start at the ceiling. We literally clean every surface in the caravan. Now we're going to move on to the walls. Any soft furnishings or loose furniture, please remove. Top tip, when you're cleaning the upholstery, come round and do in the bedrooms also the soft furnishings such as this one. Now moving on to the walls, starting at the top, working your way down and literally covering every square inch of the wall that's necessary. We've come across a black mark on the wall that won't come off with your normal R2. Top tip, take your magic sponges, just using a little bit of water out of your bucket, apply and it comes off that easy. We've now moved around and we've come across a vent. Best way to clean the vent, quick top tip, using a hoover and a little scrubbing brush. Some of the vents we can actually take out, but this type actually falls through if you'll take it out and it'll need more than one person to put it back. So the best way, using a brush and a hoover. And now just finishing it off with a bit of R2 and a cloth just to wipe off the excess dirt around it. And then straight on, moving on to the curtain rail Make sure you're getting all the way along, getting it all nice and clean. Now we move on to the windows, and as in the window frames, still using the R2, giving it a good clean through, in and out, literally opening the window and cleaning it around the window frame itself to remove all grime and mould. When cleaning the window, open it so that you're getting not just the inside track, you're getting the outside track as well, so that it is completely clean. When getting in the nooks and crannies, and if your fingers just can't get there, top tip, normal toothbrush, getting right in to the corners and getting it all out. A quick top tip, once you've finished the window, go around the outside of the frame with your Sanimold. It's just there to put a little barrier on to stop the mould growing back. And now it's a quick polish of the windows using a dry cloth and R3. Now that's the internal part of the window cleaned. On a later stage we'll be showing you how to do the outsides once we've finished the interior cleans. Now moving on to your cupboards and your furnitures. Top tip, when you're doing your top level walls and ceilings, getting on top and cleaning the top of cupboards and then moving your way to the bottom. Moving on to the inside of the cupboard, starting at the top, going all the way to the bottom with your R2 and your cloth, not forgetting to do your hinges and your plinth at the bottom. Here we have an electric blow heater. Using your hoover and your brush, cleaning it out and then giving it a final wipe with a cloth on the outside with your R2. And using your R3, give the mirror a quick clean and then buff dry. With the stools, obviously we're going to clean the frames, but the tops, as in the seating area, needs to be cleaned with the carpets and the upholstery. When we're cleaning the light fittings and plug sockets, do not spray directly onto them, spray onto the cloth and give it a good wipe round, removing all the finger marks and dust. Now we move on to cleaning the door frames, cleaning the inside of the door and the outside of the door, giving it a good going over, removing all black marks, finger marks. Moving on to the bed frames, cleaning the legs, the slats and the rest of the frame. Now we're going to be moving on to the mattress. As you see, I've actually put on my lovely gloves because the chemicals I'm going to use can be a bit of an irritant. You can either use your normal spot and stain or your Sanimold, whichever product works better for you. Right, I've come across a nice little stain here. I'm just going to spray it on and just agitate it a little bit. All I was using is just a sponge with a little bit of water and me Sanimold. Give it a little time for the product to activate itself and work its magic. Right, now we've come back to it. Give it a little wipe again, and then with your blue cloth just wipe the excess product away. We've now completed the main bedroom. Everything's done. We've left the bed and the mattress up in the air. Reason being, we're going to get the carpet cleaners to come in and clean the carpets. So for this instance, we're leaving it. Top tip, if you're doing this on your park, for the carpet cleaners to come in, do leave it away from the windows. Now moving on to the twin bedrooms. Carried out the same process we carried out in the main bedroom, and start from top, work all the way down to the bottom, and then move on to the next bedroom. Now we've moved on to the shower room, and we've got a toilet in here as well. We're going to start off with pre-treating the taps and the shower area. We're using Lifeguard Limescale Remover. We're also going to use the same product on the shower walls to get rid of any limescale and soapy residue. Literally just putting it over the top. When doing the shower walls, it's best to use a sponge. Apply it to the sponge and then applicate onto the walls. Starting at the top on the ceiling, not putting too much on your sponge so that you're going to get some drips on the head. So, and then just work your way down the wall. On a quick inspection around the sealant area, there is some visible signs of mould. We're just going to apply a bit of Sanimold, which is basically going to neutralise the mould completely, and then we're just going to give it a quick wipe over afterwards. Applying the glass door as well to get rid of the limescale build up. Pouring some of the limescale remover into the galley area. Give it a little scrub and leave it to agitate. Right, now we move on to the toilet. Removing the water, pushing it through so that you're exposing the water line. Once that's done, take some of your R1, which is your normal toilet cleaner, apply it to the bowl and give it a good scrub, not forgetting below the water line. Leaving the product in the toilet to agitate, and we'll move on. Now that all the products are in place and they are doing their little agitating work, we're going to start the process as we did in the other room, starting with the ceiling and the walls, working our way down and ending on the windows. Moving on to the blinds, we get two different types of blinds in the accommodations. This one is in a Venetian. We also get the roller blinds. With the Venetian, we take it all the way down, cleaning every slat as we go, leaving it in the down position. The product I'm going to be using is a Sanimold. just apply and clean literally every slab and work your way down. With the roller blind, make sure it's fully down, cleaning both sides of it and leaving it down for it to dry. Moving on to the pull cord, making sure it's nice and white. If it isn't, we're going to apply some Sani-Mold, but it must be at the correct length, not looking like this. As you can see, we've got rid of the loops and knots, and we're just going to finish it off with a bit of Sani-Mold. Right, now we're also going to concentrate on the toilet roll holder, all the fixtures and fittings such as the electric fires and towel rails. Moving our way down to the skirting boards, not forgetting to give them a good and thorough wipe through. And then we move on to the vanity unit. In this case it's only a mirror, but when you've got the vanity unit, open the cupboard, clean inside and the outside, and not forgetting on top. Then taking your R3 and buffing up your mirror, making it nice and clean. Now that we've finished the walls and the ceilings, we'll move on to where we started beginning with all the products that we left on. So we'll give them a good thorough clean and a rinse, remembering to use clean water as we go along. When doing the sink, not forgetting to do the pedestal underneath it, making sure there's no soap residue or watermarks or scale of any type, and don't forget the U-bends and the pipe work at the back. Right, now we're moving on to the shower. Using your normal R2 and your cloth being pretty wet, so that you can remove the limescale remover that you've left behind. Starting at the top with the ceiling, getting into all the corners, and work your way down. Now I've moved on to the other side, making sure I do the shower hose and around the shower mixer. Removing all the limescale remover. And then moving into the edges and the crevices, using your trusty toothbrush, apply a bit of product and then get right into the nook and crannies. And the final bit on the shower is just give the door a quick wipe down, removing the limescale remover, and then with your glass cleaner, your R3, with a dry cloth, just buff the glass up so it's nice and clean. Not forgetting the outside of the shower glass. Then on to the toilet, using a red cloth, cleaning from top to the bottom, giving it a good going over. Cleaning it right through, not forgetting your U-bend at the back and the sides of the toilet. Then on to the inside, give it another quick scrub through, making sure you're getting under the rim. And then taking your red cloth again, just finishing it off. And then either flush or apply water if you're not connected. If you have any stickers on your system, just use some hot soapy water. Sometimes you've got stickers on the front, sometimes you've got them on the side. Now we move on to polishing up all the chrome work, such as the taps, the towel rails, the shower mixers and so forth. Now we're on to cleaning the floor. In a deep clean, I don't recommend using a mop in the bathroom because you can't get into the nooks and crannies. I'm using a red cloth and R2. Get them right into the areas that we can't get in with a mop. Right, now we're finishing off with the door frames and the door itself, making sure we get in to the nooks and crannies of the edges. Right, now we're moving on to the hallway. Same as the bedrooms and the bathroom. We're going to start at the top, work our way down, starting with the lampshade, removing, wiping and cleaning, and working our way down the walls. In some accommodations you'll have two doors. In this case we've got the two doors. Clean it inside, but also open the door itself and clean right into the edges, getting all the dirt and everything away. Right, making sure we're getting right into the edges, getting right in, and where necessary apply a brush and then give it a good wipe. And then finally on the door, using your R3 to buff up the glass, making it all nice and sparkly. Then we move on to the floor. In this case we've got a carpet. Give it a thorough clean with a hoover, making sure you're getting into all the nooks and crannies all the way around. If it was a vinyl flooring, then obviously same process as in the bathroom. Get on your hands and knees and getting in to all the corners, making sure you remove all the dirt. Right, moving on to the boiler cupboard. Starting at the top, working your way all the way to the bottom, cleaning as you go, and when you move on to the door, make sure you remove all unrelevant stickers, and the only sticker that's allowed to be in here is your valid gas certificate. When we get down to the floor area, in this case we need a hoover. Give it a good hoover out, a good wipe out, and then move on to the external part of the door. We're now moved on to the kitchen area. We're going to start with descaling the kettle. While descaling the kettle, we're going to do the shower head as well. So we're going to place the shower head into the kettle, allowing all the air to come out. In the kettle I've got hot water in here, but it's not boiled. I've stopped it just before it started boiling. We're going to be using descaler, which is R8. I've already got some in a little jug, so I'm just going to pour it in. and we'll leave that to work while we carry on with the rest of the kitchen. Right, now we move on to the pre-treatment of the oven, grill and the cooking surfaces. Obviously I'm going to remove some of the items and put them on the side, and then you'll see where I go from there. Taking all the bits off so I can give it a thorough clean. And then we'll start pre-treating. When you're pre-treating and you're spraying the chemical, make sure you cover the jets with your fingers. As you see, I've removed all the knobs off the cooker and there's a build-up of grease. That was the reasoning behind. I'm moving on to the grill area. Remove the grill pan. And just give a light spray. While using this product, make sure the caravan is well ventilated. You've got a door open at least and a couple of windows. And then we move on to the other area. Moving as we go. Right, as you can see, I've laid all the bits and pieces from the oven on the draining board. Now I'm going to pre-treat them with some spray. Now that my oven and cooker and all the knobs have been pre-treated, I'm going to leave them to agitate, and we're going to start on the ceiling and work our way down, starting with the lights and your air vent or skylight. Right, moving on to the ceiling, I'm going to take the air vent down and just place it into a bowl of hot soapy water to soak, and then I'll move on to the light fitting. Right, now we're moving on. We're going to start at the top of the walls and work our ways down until we get to the kitchen cupboards and giving it a good degreasing with hot soapy water. We're moving our way down it. Right, now moving on to the cupboard, in other words eye level. Open all the cupboards up, taking all the inventory out except for the glasses. Glasses I'll put one side, all the others I will put in a bucket with my Titan sanitizer and leave to soak. Once that's all in place, move to the cupboards, give them a good clean out, inside and out, and move on to the lower surfaces. Just a quick top tip, when you're cleaning your walls in your kitchen area, remove any please note papers, because next year they won't be valid. We're now going to clean the window and the blind as we done in the shower room. Right, we're under the sink, so make sure we're getting in the areas of the U-bend and the pipework. Then we move on to the lower cupboards, cleaning complete within. Take note of the liner at the bottom. You might need to hoover out before cleaning, but literally getting into the nooks and crannies of the bottom. Right, clean the inside of the door, but not the out, because we still might make a mess when we're putting things away. Right, now we're moving on to the fridge. First thing we're going to do is pull the fridge out and clean behind and the outside of the walls. Now we've got the fridge removed, we can concentrate on cleaning the back walls, moving our way back down to the floor, cleaning all the walls going round, and then finally giving the floor a good wipe out. Right, before we put the fridge back, we're going to clean the outside, the tops and the sides, giving it a thorough once over. Now I put the fridge back in place, I'm going to clean the inside with me green cloth and the R2. Making sure my fridge is de-iced and working my way through it. Right, a top tip, along the seal here you'll see there's some mould. Now from time to time you do get a bit of mould build up, a bit of semi-mould, and just give it a nice little wipe and it'll all disappear. Right, now we've cleaned the fridge, we'll make sure it's all turned on, it's all running, close it up, give it a final clean on the front and bring it up to a good nice shine. Right, now we're going to move on to the microwaves. Some microwaves might be on a higher level, some might be on a low. Do it as you're going along, as you see fit. First thing, turn them to one side, unplug and remove. Once the microwave's removed, give the area a good clean with your R2 and your green cloth. Now we move on to the microwave itself, cleaning externally, making sure it's all nice and grime free, and we'll move on to the inside, removing the plate and the sliding ring, starting with the roof on the inside, down the back of the microwave, on the sides and the way out. Just a quick top tip, on the outside of the microwave, some of them are glass, use a little bit of R3, which is a glass cleaner, and just give it a nice buff shine clean. Finally, let's put the microwave back up onto the shelf where it was, plugging it in and make sure it's turned on and in the correct position. Now we're going to move on to the mid-range walls. Top tip, use your oven and grill cleaner. It will remove all the splashes that come from the cooking. Giving it a good once over. Moving down to the glasswork. And then taking your damp cloth and just giving it a wipe over. Then we're going to move on to your cooker. Just give it a good little scrub. Getting in all the nooks and crannies. And then with your cloth again, being wet, give it a little rinse. giving that a chance to dry, and we'll come back to that to buff it up later. Getting around all the little dials. And the same process going over it with a damp cloth. Moving on to the grill, same process as earlier, giving it a good scrub and then going in with your wet cloth. Following the same process in the oven, only difference removing the glass as well. Right, once you've done the oven, remove the glass out the door. As you see, I've already pre-treated it. Give it a good scrub on both sides. Then onto your wet cloth, basically getting the product off. Then buff it up to a nice little shine. And then do the door itself. Right, now scrub all the individual little parts from the ovens. Right, once you've done all the scrubbing and you've given them a good rinsing, then start putting the cooker back together. Now we're moving on to the inventory that we've had in soak. We're going to give it a thorough wash, quick rinse, and then put it back. And then we're going to do a thorough inventory check to see what replacements is required. Right, now we're moving on to the toaster and the kettle. Giving it a good thorough polish up. Also checking at the same time that the cable and the plug are intact and there's no visual damage. With the kettle, obviously we've had it that's been descaling. So we're going to remove the descalant and rinse thoroughly. Now we're giving it a thorough rinse inside and out. We're going to put it on the boil and boil it once or twice. While the kettle's boiling, we're going to take the shower head and put it back into place in the shower room. Right, we're going to start off putting the bits all back together. So we've got the skylight to put back up. Once we've done that, we're going to start doing all the work surfaces, sanitising them and making it all nice and clean and buffed up. Right, as you can see, I'm just finishing off the last bits of the work surfaces and then I'm moving straight on to finishing off the sink and buffing the taps up. We're now moving on to the front of the cupboards and the kick plates. Give them a thorough rinsing down. If you do come across any grease on the cupboards near the cooker work, do use your Brillo and it will remove any stubborn greasy stains. Right, now moving on to the front of the oven. It's glass, so it's going to need a nice little buffing. With my R3, which is a glass cleaner, just give it a quick quick wipe over, remove any finger marks, and then just buff it to a shine. Right, at this stage we're going to move on to the lounge. I'm going to leave the flooring till last because we're going to maybe be walking back and forth through the kitchen. Now we're moving on to the lounge. Same process as we've repeated before. We start at the top with the light, working our way down the ceilings, moving on to the walls, not forgetting to do on top of the pelmets, giving it a good clean, and moving your way down through the windows till the sofa areas. As you can see, when we came in the caravan, all the cushions were placed in the middle of the caravan. As we're moving around and cleaning the ceilings and everything, yes, we'll have to move them out of the way just so that they don't get contaminated with dirt. Now we've moved on to the windows. Take special attention on the grooves around it, using your trusty toothbrush and your R2, getting right into the corners, taking out all the dirt and grime. Now we've moved on to the window sills, paying special attention, getting underneath all the nooks and crannies. We've come across some missing tie backs. We're going to remove all these now. Some are pinned, some are screwed. Just use your friendly screwdriver and take them off. In the mid-level area, if you come across any mirrors, just like the windows, polish them up with your R3 and your blue cloth and bring them to a nice shine. If there's any cupboards or shelves in the lounge area, make sure we're cleaning on top, every shelf, inside the cupboards and on the outsides. Moving the way down to where the TV would be in this one, make sure we're getting on top of all the plugs, and we're moving down to the fireplace where we can literally just take the front of the grill off. Now we're down to the fireplace. A simple tug and the front of the grill comes off. Give it a quick wipe and then using your R3 polish up the silverwork. And then finally putting the grill back into place once you've cleaned it. As with the previous door, we're going to make sure we're getting into all the corners, cleaning out thoroughly. Now we're down to the sofa area. This one hasn't got a pull-out bed, it's a fold-out bed, but we are going to make sure it's all dust-free on top and underneath. Right, now we're looking underneath, pulling out all the little bits. Just back to the beds. If it was a proper pull-out bed, make sure all the legs are secure, the mattress is in good condition, and it is completely dust-free. Removing all the boards now, and going to hoover underneath and give it a good wipe out. Now I'm hoovering underneath all the sofa boards. This is something I'll carry out through the whole lounge area, making sure you're getting into all the nooks and crannies. Now we're moving on to the upholsteries. I'm not going to hoover it while it's back in place, in case some of the dirt that might be on it lands back on the seating boards. Right. Now I'm moving on to the table and loose furniture. I'm not just going to clean on top, I'm actually going to clean underneath, making sure there's no sticky residue underneath and going through the legs. Just a final note, this caravan doesn't have any stools, but if it did, I would clean the legs and the tops when we're doing the upholsteries. Now we're moving on to the kickboard area below the sofas, giving it a thorough clean, make sure we're getting into the corners and removing all the splashes. Now we're moving on to the carpets. Make sure we're getting into all the little corners. If necessary, take the end of the hose off. And then it's all ready for if it needs a carpet clean. Now we move on to the final checks in the caravan. which is your CO2 detectors and smoke alarms, and also referring to your health and safety guide for your fire extinguishers. Moving on to the fire extinguisher, making sure it's clean, dust free and in date, and making sure the little arrow is in the green. Right, now finally we're going to rehang all the curtains. They have been washed over the winter period. You're going to start on the one side and work your all the way through the caravan. Now we're coming to the end of hanging all the curtains. Make sure they're the right length and in the right place. Now we're moving on to the external part of the caravan. We're going to be cleaning the windows. Because we're not allowed to use ladders on the outside of uneven ground, we've got an extendable pole with the applicator. I've got hot soapy water and my squeegee. Part of your safety check on the external side, you're checking that your steps are secure, your door retainers in place, and then give your steps a quick wipe over. As you can see, this caravan doesn't have its own pitch number, so it's something to report to your accommodation manager, and the suppliers can supply it for you. You'll have the correct number of the pitch.